So she checks me out, and I remember the feeling after hearing what she said. Hello my cool cats, and welcome back to another video. Believe it or not, I somehow got pregnant with twins and then gave birth to them. Crazy how this world works, right? I want to take a small moment just to thank you guys for allowing me to share this whole journey with you guys. It has been literally amazing, and your support literally means the world to me, so thank you so much. I have also been working on something for the past couple of months, and I'm so excited to finally share it with you guys. So it's coming up soon. Stay tuned. It will be in all the links and everywhere. I'm just so excited and pumped for that. But let's just begin with this video. So this story begins on December 1st. 2019. The morning started just like any other. In hindsight, I was feeling more contractions and stronger contractions than usual, but I really didn't think much of it because Braxton Hicks are common during this time, and I had Braxton Hicks throughout the later part of my pregnancy. This day also happened to be my grandma's 80th birthday, which was a really big deal. We were having this big dinner for her, and she had actually flown all the way from Peru to be here for that. That was the plan for today. We were gonna go to that dinner. I was getting ready, so it was the morning past, I was having my contractions, nothing too crazy. I did, like in hindsight also, I was laughing hysterically for some joke that Jimena said because she's a funny gal, and I peed myself a little. And I was like, oh my god, I peed myself. That's never happened before. I bet that was like a bit of my water just breaking right there. So we were scheduled to leave at around 3 o'clock. So at 2:30 I was all ready to go. I was wearing my cute little dress that you saw in my birth vlog, and I was finishing up a letter that I was writing for my grandma. And as I put that final period in that wonderful heartfelt letter, I felt this super warm flush of liquid leave my body. It was just amazing. And when that happened, I just started laughing. I ran into the bathroom. Alejandro was already inside. I sat on the toilet, and then I was just leaking all this fluid. I look up at him and I'm like, hey babe, I'm not peeing right now. I think my water just broke. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, pretty sure this is what's supposed to happen. What happens, I guess. I don't know. So this is when I told him, hey, go tell my mom. Just, you know, inform her of this new revelation. So he heads to my mom's room, knocks on the door, and says, Lily, I think Brenda's water just broke. And my dad was also in the room, and you just hear both of them scream, what? And it was the funniest thing because I could hear it all the way from the bathroom. And I'm still sitting on the toilet, mind you. Hunter comes back inside. He has the biggest smile on his face because he is literally wearing a suit. He is so pumped because he just, I don't know, he loves the suit, and now he gets to meet his children with it. So win-win right there. So I was under the impression that birth took a while. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go into the hospital, it just takes hours and then eventually a baby comes. That's what I thought occurred. So I told my mom and dad and my sister and Mario, I told everyone, hey, you know, go to the dinner. Like, it's grandma's 80th birthday. It's a really big deal. We will go to the hospital, check this out, and we'll call you and keep you guys updated. So we went to the hospital, and I believe I have said this before, the hospital that I was giving birth at was around like an hour away, 45 minutes away. So Alejandro and I made our way there, and my parents and my sister made their way to the dinner. And that car ride was just like, we were so pumped. We were so excited. We were ready for this. And it was like we already had a little rundown when I was 29 weeks pregnant or 28 weeks pregnant. I had that little scare, and we did this whole thing where we drove to the hospital and we went through triage, and we really like had a little practice run right there. So I felt super calm. I don't know, you probably saw it in the video. I was just so calm. And even the nurse, when she started checking me in, I told her, yeah, I'm having contractions. They're 3 minutes apart. My water broke, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, oh, so you've had kids before? And I said, no, sweetie, but I've been here before, so I know the rundown. I was just really comfortable with everyone there. Jackson Memorial, best hospital. If you're in Miami, go have all your children at Jackson Memorial. So the nurse told me to put a gown on. I had put a pad on just to see if there was any additional fluid coming out, if there was blood coming out, so I could physically show them, because, you know, they know. I don't know what's going on. They know what's going on. So that was that clip in the video where Alejandro's recording and I'm in triage. And at this point, we're still thinking like, you know, this could take hours. If this is actual birth, this could be tomorrow. It could take hours. You never know. That my water may not have even broken. I maybe just peed myself. you know? I'm laying in bed, doctor comes in, amazing doctor, super sweet. She's like, all right guys, we're gonna go check you out. Let me drink some water. By the way, my boobs might start leaking at any moment. They're unpredictable. So she checks me out, and I remember the feeling after hearing what she said. Goes up from obviously checking the goods down there and says, all right, things are gonna move fairly quickly from now on. And I was like, oh, so I'm giving birth? And I remember just looking at Alejandro, and he had the biggest smile on his face. I had the biggest smile on my face. I was just in shock. I honestly didn't feel like this moment that we've been waiting for so long, like it's finally here. Like if you've given birth, like you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's finally here. You get to meet your little babies, but you're also scared and like, but you're happy, and like all these emotions are going on all at once. I look at Alejandro and I tell him, go text my family, tell them to come, because this is going down soon. So I was also already hooked up to the monitor, so they were monitoring my 2 babies and my contractions as well. And that, I don't even know, like when she said things are moving fairly quickly, I was like, oh, okay. But things were literally moving fairly quickly. So the first thing that happened really quickly, the ultrasound machine was brought by. She did the ultrasound to see the positioning of the babies, to see if I could have a vaginal birth, and they were both breech, which means their heads were up, so there was no way that I could do a vaginal delivery because my water did break and we don't want them staying in there with no fluid, so gotta do a C-section. Then she said the anesthesiologist was gonna come by. The anesthesiologist came by. Sweetest guy. It was like 3 guys, and 2 of them had the same last name. And they just talked to me, and I remember like telling them like, hey, by the way, I'm a petite girl. Don't overdose me, please. Like, I still want to walk after this. And they just laughed, and I signed all the consent forms. It literally was like 10 minutes from her telling me things are going to move fairly quickly to me being wheeled away into the OR. And this is the part that actually took longer. So they basically separated me from my little Alejandro. So Alejandro in his wonderful, adorable suit was left in the room, and I was wheeled into the OR. And at this point, I'm not feeling nervous. Nerves isn't what I'm feeling. It's like excitement, but I was shaking. So, and I was alone too, and all these doctors are talking. Obviously, I am a very tiny person, and I have 2 babies inside me. So they wheel me in, they put the little mask on me. Like, I remember walking through the OR. It was the biggest OR, and the doctors were saying like, oh, this OR. It's like, yeah, this is the twin OR. And I'm like, ooh, I got me twin OR over here. I just had such a positive vibe. Everyone present was just so positive. I didn't get any negative vibes, and it just made me feel so comfortable. So, and I feel like that shows also in my video too. I was just so comfortable until I had that big needle in my spine. That was a trip. So what occurred? I'm, like I mentioned, I'm just tiny. I believe they tried to put it in and they didn't do it right. They didn't do something right, because I needed a second person to do it right. That was the only part of the whole experience where I was like, owie, that hurt. To be honest, like even like that pain, that was like nothing. I feel like I would do that 1,000 times just to relive that whole day. So they had me all set up. They were scrubbing me up. I was laying there. They were telling me, you know, the little test where they test if you can feel your body. It's like, how do you feel it here? Do you feel it here? Same, different, you know, all that good stuff. Thankfully, I felt it. But they did mention that they thought that I metabolized the medication really quickly. So that was fun. They just kept pumping the goods inside me. And then mentioned that later on it would take longer for me to get the medicine out of my system. Then the moment finally arrived that they were able to allow Alejandro back in, and of course he's out here vlogging like a good dad. It was just such a good moment. He sat down next to me, and as you could see in the video, at this point he said my hands were pale, but I was just like really alert, like overly alert, and I was just trying to listen to all the noises on the other side of the sheet. So I feel like that's why I was kind of like all over the place, but honestly did not feel anything. I felt mostly pressure. That's why I was able to like feel when the first baby came out, which was little baby Eisen. Eisen Lee is his name, and he was the firstborn. And I'm like just thinking about, it was just literally the best feeling ever, just hearing him cry, because he actually did cry. I actually thought that they weren't gonna cry when they came out because they were a little premature, but Eisen screamed his little freaking heart out. And once Alejandro came back, I wish I would have gotten footage of what he looked like, because he was just like so like his eyes were like so red because he was crying. And it's like that moment when you first see your baby, which I actually hadn't had yet. That is like what makes everything like okay. Like I don't care about literally anything that has ever happened up to this point. This is what matters. And so Alejandro got to record that. We have some bomb footage of that, which I can't show because, you know, my intestines are there. And then the best part about having twins is you get to have that same moment 2 minutes later. And 2 minutes later, Enzo Gray made his big debut. He actually came out right in the sack, so it appears that Eisen was the one that broke my water. So that little feller, he was like, we gotta get out of here, it's December. The doctors were really intrigued by him still being on the sack, and in the video, obviously I couldn't show this on YouTube, but when they cut open the sack, his legs, his long legs, just like flared out, and it is just the coolest thing. Once again, that's the same feelings that you were just like, wow, there's one, and then wow, there's another one. It was just great. And once it was time, once they cleaned them up, they made sure that they were breathing, that everything was good, their heart was good, everything was good. They were able to bring them and let me see them. And that moment, I am so glad that the anesthesiologist, or one of the anesthesiologists, and one of them was recording it for us. That was just like the best gift you could have given us, so thank you. The first thing I thought when I saw them was just like, oh my god, they're little Alejandros. Like if Alejandro shaved his beard, like that's him. And it just made me so happy to be present and just, I don't know how to describe it, and I don't want to be all cheesy, but like you understand what I'm saying. After this, the doctor that was going to take care of them in the NICU came to talk to us. There's a little clip saying that they're doing so good, they're breathing really well, and that they are not going into NICU A, which is a more intense NICU, that they are going straight to NICU B. And I was under the impression that they would go to NICU A. That's what everyone was telling me. But they did it. But they are out here thriving. They went straight to NICU B. So that was just really a big relief for me, because I do know how intense NICU A is. After that, it kind of like simmered down. Like, you know, like your adrenaline is kicking and you're like super up there, and then the babies are gone, and my husband had to be gone because he had to go with the babies. And I was just like, they were finishing up the surgery, and I was just like thinking, like reliving everything and like replaying everything in my head. And I got really emotional at that point, and I do remember that once everything was done, like I felt good. I felt really good. They took me to this other room, like it's not really like a room, it wasn't a room, it was like a place, like a holding room where there's just curtains, and after you have a C-section, they kind of like put you there to monitor, and I was the only one there. It was the chillest like day at the hospital. I was the only person there. They put me in my little space, and I was alone. And that was that clip in my birth vlog that I was just like really emotional and like crying. I wasn't sad. I was just literally genuinely emotional because I was like, I'm a mom, but like they're not here, and it was just sad. I'm kind of crying just thinking about it. I stayed in that place and I felt like it was just like forever, and all I wanted to do was go see my babies. That's all I wanted. and I couldn't do that. They had to wait for the anesthesia to wear off. My family, one by one, started coming in, and first it was my mom, then my sister, and everyone, and saying how Alejandra's actually taking them one by one to the NICU to see the boys, and that was amazing. I was glad that my mom and my dad were able to go see their grandchildren, and my grandma came. She out here. She came for her birthday, and she just told me, like, thank you for giving me the best birthday present that I could ever get. And I was like, because she's a great grandma and these are her first great grandchildren, so it was a really big deal. And that's the story of how my boys made their big debut. I am once again so honored that I get to share my whole experience with you guys, so thank you for allowing me to do that. I think that will be the end of this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are amazing, I love you, and I'll see you later in the week.